Welcome in, I'm Archers, and in this video we're going to be going over EBO2 Green Purple Luffy, a leader that at one point was one of the strongest in the meta, but over time it started to fall off, and only thanks to EBO3 is it starting to find some relevancy in the meta yet again. But before we go over the deck list and how the leader operates, if you're new to the channel, please make sure to hit that sub button and give the video a thumbs up. It helps out the channel so much. Thank you all for the support. Additionally, if you'd like to talk about the One Piece card game outside of the YouTube comments, make sure to join the Discord community. The link for that is in the description below. So since this is the first time we are covering Green Purple Luffy on this channel, I should go over the leader ability here. Activate main once per turn, Dawn -2. If you have only Straw Hat Crew type characters in play, set up to 2 of your rested Dawn cards as active. Then this leader gets 1000 power until the end of your opponent's next turn. The strength of this leader is being both an offensive and defensive weapon because you're a 6k leader for an entire turn cycle. Plus, you also get to recycle some of the Dawn that you used on a previous action, so you're able to be very Dawn efficient with this leader, often playing out 2 bodies a turn. The big downside to this leader is that if you do lose your board, it is very difficult for you to come back because this is a very aggro deck. You're trying to end games quickly, so if your opponent is able to remove your board, then your game plan just kind of falls apart. And especially in the OP13 meta, when Emu was prevalent, this leader fell off completely altogether because of the blocker Mars that could KO a base 5 cost, made it so that when you played your Going Merry stage, buffing your characters by 2, it didn't matter because the base cost was still the same. But thanks to the heroine battles in the EBO3 meta, we now have a 3-cost promo Robin, which completely makes removal null and void against this deck. And a bit of a heads up before we do go into the deck list, this is based off of a deck that was piloted by Marco from Hong Kong in a championship in Asia to qualify for Worlds this year. And so I thought his deck list was really strong, and there are a few changes that I made to the deck list to tweak it towards what our current meta is, because at the time of when he played it, Ace was very prominent, there wasn't a lot of yellow, and he wasn't having to deal with the same card pool that we are currently, but some of the cards he had in as tech pieces I found to be a little less relevant for our current meta, so there are a couple changes I made to that. Otherwise, this deck is very strong, and he did a great job putting it together. So starting off, we have a playset of the Green Nami Searcher from EBO2 that looks at the top 5 cards and grabs any Straw Hat Crew type card. It can be a character or even your events. And then of course we have the new Nico Robin promo, which is a once per turn. If your Straw Hat Crew type character would be removed from the field by your opponent's effect, you may rest one of your Dawn cards instead. So this will bypass any kind of removal, meaning that your characters are rather safe. You only have to leave 1 Dawn open at the end of your turn, which is rather easy to do, especially with your leader ability and some of the other cards I've added in. This card alone is actually the whole reason that this deck is rather relevant again. Then one of the changes that I made to the deck list is the 4-cost 5000 power Zoro from OP13. It's an on play if your leader has the Film or Straw Hat Crew type, set up to 2 of your Dawn cards as active, and then end of your turn, set this character as active. So a couple things here. One, you can use that extra Dawn that is restood to be able to play a Searcher, so you can play either the 1-cost Nami or the 2-cost Purple Nami, or you can also use that Dawn for your Nico Robin ability. Secondly, this character restands at the end of the turn, meaning that it will never die by combat, and your opponent will likely not be able to remove it through any kind of removal spells, especially if Nico Robin is on the field. So this Zoro is just a persistent attacker every turn. Then I'm playing 2 of the new blocker Nami from OP14. It's a 4-cost 2000 power blocker that says on play, rest up to 2 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 8 or less, then set up to 5 of your Dawn cards as active at the end of this turn. So this will allow you to be very aggressive the turn you play this. If your opponent is playing any blockers and preventing you from really pushing life, this card will be able to bypass those blockers, and you can add that extra Dawn that is open to your current attackers, not having to worry about not having any Dawn at the end of the turn, because the Dawn that you paid to play this then restands at the end of the turn, so you can leave it open for your Nico Robin ability or for any counter events. This is not necessarily a game-ending card, although you could use it as that. I'm typically trying to put my foot on the gas when I do play this though. Then another change I made to the deck list is the 5-cost 7000 power Sanji. It's an on-play, set up to 2 of your Dawn cards as active, and then end of your turn, if your leader has the Film or Straw Hat Crew type, set up to 1 of your Dawn cards as active. So yet again, we are able to restand Dawn to be able to play out Searchers or have flexibility for our Robin ability, and then at the end of your turn, you will always have 1 Dawn to restand, so you can use your Robin ability or have that for an additional counter event. So this card is actually very strong for this deck overall. I'm only running 2 of it because it doesn't have a counter. We have a lot of non-counter cards as is, and your 5-cost spot is usually going to be for the Sanji and Pudding play. Then we have the 2-cost Purple Nami from PRBO2. It just says on play, look at the top 5 cards of your deck and reveal up to 1 Straw Hat Crew type card other than Nami and add it to your hand. So basically the same same thing as the green one. But what's nice here is that it does have a trigger to be able to play this from life. You can get that search off if it is in life, which is very nice, of course, and it happens very often. Then we have a playset of Usohachi, greatest purple 2K. Don't need to say anything more there. Then we have a playset of the 4-cost 6,000 power Zoro Juro. This one's a little bit different though than the other searchers because of the fact that it can only grab a purple Straw Hat crew type card. In total, you have 12 searchers, so the consistency of this deck is actually pretty strong, although admittedly, I never seem to find my Sanji and Pudding despite having 12 searchers, but that's probably just a skill difference. This Zoro though is a really great play opening up either on your 5 Dawn or 4 Dawn turn. Now there's an argument to be made that you should be playing your Sanji and Pudding on 5, but oftentimes you could just play the Zoro Juro down on 5 and then play the Sanji and Pudding the next turn, so you have more Dawn recycled back to be able to play 2 bodies out if you are going first. Otherwise, the play pattern will be you play this on 4, and then you play the Sanji and Pudding on 6, being able to then use your leader ability to get more Dawn back and play another 4 cost if you are going second. Now, typically you do want to go second with this deck, so keep that in mind, but you don't mind going first because obviously your 5 Dawn is a very important turn for you, so being able to get this down on 5 or 6 is just as good. Of course, the ability for this card says your turn once per turn. When 2 or more of your Dawn cards are returned to your Dawn deck, set up to one of your Dawn cards from your Dawn deck is active, and then on play, if the number of Dawn cards are equal to or less than your opponent's, draw 1 card. Of course, with only one of these on the field, you can actually use this with your leader ability and get 3 standing Dawn back. As you can imagine, the more that you find, the more powerful your leader ability becomes, essentially paying for anything that you see in your hand for free, the more that you get out. This is the most important piece of your deck, and you should be trying to get as many of these into your hand as possible because of the fact that this just does so well with what your leader ability is trying to do, and it's very important for you to be able to protect it, so the Nico Robin is a very important card for that reason. If you can go first, playing this out on 5 and then using your leader ability to bring out the Nico Robin is a suggested play. Otherwise, you can, as I said, play a Zoro Juro out on 5, and then the following turn play Sanji and Pudding into a Nico Robin, so that way you do have the extra Dawn open to protect any of your units from being removed. Now, the other important piece to this deck is the 6-cost 7,000 power Luffy that says if your leader is multicolored and your opponent has 5 or more Dawn cards on the field, this character gains Rush, and then when attacking once per turn, return 2 of your active Dawn cards to your Dawn deck, set this character as active, and then add the top card of your life to your hand. Usually the manner in which you are playing this is you are not going to be using that second part of the ability unless you're wanting to be hyper aggressive, maybe you're being starved out. If you can play this down before trying to close out the game, it's going to be a huge threat to your opponent. They're going to have to remove it, or else this does close out games rather easily. Admittedly, I never find the right time to play this, and I usually end up playing it as a way to close out the game. So if you do have a couple of Sanji and Puddings established, you play this out and then you get all of the Dawn back, and then you can swing really big with this character. But of course, if you have it already established before you're trying to go for lethal, then you can just swing even larger is the point. Next up, we have a playset of the 6-cost 6,000 power 2K counter Sanji in purple. It says while you have 2 or more fewer Dawn cards than your opponent in your hand, this card costs 3 less. This often actually can come up because of the fact that you do minus Dawn quite often with this deck, and your opponent will likely be at 10 by the time you really need to play this out. So you can actually bring this out for 3. One of the few decks that I find that you can actually use this effectively in. We have 2 Dead Man's Game. This is probably one of the most important pieces in order to go for a game. Being able to rest characters or Dawn is very important, especially when you're going against purple decks that might be running Gum Gum Giant, or any kind of decks that have counter events, especially Mihawk, leaving a Dawn or 2 open to play for any of their counter events they have in hand. This card is an MVP in those spots, and I think that you should always keep 1 in hand no matter what. Unless you're about to die, I don't think you need to get rid of this card. Just keep 1 in hand so you can close out the game rather easily. Then we have 2 of the I Know You're Strong, so I'll go all out from the start. Counter event from OP13. This is a really good card in order to be able to combat a rather wide board, or decks like Mihawk, for instance, where they have the 7-cost Shanks and maybe a 5-cost body that is being rather annoying. Being able to freeze those rested units for a turn really buys you a lot of time. Otherwise, this is just a solid counter event to protect your leader without having to go and minus too much Dawn in the process. Then we're running 2 of the Spiderweb counter event. Up to one of your leader or characters gains plus 4,000 power for this battle, then set up to one of your characters is active. This used to be Thunder Bagua. I think Thunder Bagua is a good option as well. But once Nico Robin was introduced into this deck, it made where your opponent could not remove your bodies by effects, and so they can only really remove them through battle. So protecting them from any kind of battle by restanding them is very important. So that's why Spiderweb, I think, is a better option than Thunder Bagua right now. Then there's 1 3-cost Gum Gum Giant Pistol. This is a main event. Give up to one of your Straw Hat crew type characters plus 6,000 power until the end of your turn, and then that character does not become active during your next refresh phase. That doesn't matter because this is going to be used as a game finisher. For only 3 Dawn, you're getting an additional plus 3, so a 6,000 to any of your swings is going to take your opponent by surprise. And you can really tell that Marco enjoyed playing Usopp, because when he was playing Usopp, he was running King Kong Gun, and I think he took that and put it into this deck, which is the equivalent here. The trigger is rest up to one of your opponent's cost 4 or lower characters. That could be relevant, but I think we're going to try to hold on to this because this, as I said, is just a great way to close out games, and your opponent likely does not expect this card to be played. Then we're running 2 Divine Departures, just the best zero-cost event in the game, being able to potentially take care of an opponent's rested character by minusing their power by 8,000. Pretty much guarantees that it is gone, so that's why we have it in the deck. Otherwise, you just use this to pitch out bricks if you need to stay alive. And then, of course, being a purple Straw Hat leader, we are running a playset of Gum Gum Giant, the best counter event in the game. Dawn -2, trash 1 card from hand, and then you get plus 4,000 power, and then draw 2 cards. So you're going net neutral with that, and getting rid of the worst card in your hand and drawing into 2 likely better cards at that point. So this card is a game changer and a great way to stay alive, especially if your opponent thinks that they might have lethal. Because of the fact that you are a little bit of a glass cannon deck, your opponent's going to try to rush you down as well. And of course, they are going to likely not be able to get there in the same fashion you are, because of the fact that you have tools like Giant or any of these counter events. Now, I'm not saying that this leader is going to win tournaments, but I do think that it is kind of a little bit of a sleeper hit where people might have forgotten about Green Purple Luffy because it hasn't been around for a meta or so. And as a result, I could expect this to do pretty well. In terms of strength, this is definitely a rogue deck, but it is one that you should take seriously. If your opponent is playing it, they might be really good at the deck. It's one of those that is, if you put a lot of practice into this deck, you will be rewarded. It is rather easy to mis-sequence things or play incorrectly and lose on the spot. But with Green Purple Luffy, like I said, the more that you pilot it, the more you will be rewarded. That being said, this list is really solid, and I do like the additions and subtractions we've made to it. So let's take this into the sim and see how it does. All right, going second into Emu here, no brainer. I really like this hand because we have a way to establish threats in the mid game with both the green Sanji and the Sanji in Pudding. We also have Nico Robin for protection and ways to close out and bypass blockers with the Nami blocker and the Dead Man's Game. So overall, I really like this hand. Shirahoshi is going to be a problem if we don't find a searcher in the next turn or two to be able to contest it. Otherwise, if they do decide to use it, then I think we just ignore it. So yeah, Zorojuro is not the searcher I would like. A good searcher, but I think if they do use the Shirahoshi this early, a couple things here. One, it's a good thing for us because it means that their trash is not going to be at 7. So if they do play anything like a War Curie or anything like that, it will not be a blocker. And then I guess the bad thing is obviously I have to pitch a card from hand because I, want to keep a pretty big hand size is Green Purple Luffy. The thing is, if they do decide, which looks like they're doing it, Zorojuro is the card to go because the rest of the cards are going to help us close out games and kind of help us with our game plan. So unfortunate. Zorojuro is a good body to throw down this turn, but it's fine. We'll swing 5 in the lead here. I'm just going to ignore the Shirahoshi. If they want to continue to use it, then that's completely fine on my part. I don't care. The Nico Robin will go ahead and establish and then leave the Dawn open. I don't think there's a way for them to get rid of it this early. So, I mean, we didn't necessarily need to leave the Dawn open, but they gave us a 2K on a 5K swing. So that's pretty telling there. War Curie comes down and it is not a blocker because they do not have enough in trash. Thank you, Shirahoshi. And then this next turn, what we can start doing is establishing some of these bodies depending on what we want. Either the Sanji and Pudding, probably the green Sanji will have to wait. We have 2 of them, so I mean, I think we just wait. Here we just go Sanji and Pudding, and then we'll go ahead and use our ability here to get to be a 6K leader. We'll swing 6 into lead, and I think it's fine to go ahead and establish another Nico Robin. 2 of them is probably a little bit overkill, but one of them can be a way to swing in, and the other one can be a way to at least protect the board. So I think that's fine to go ahead and do this. A little bit of a slow start from us, but I think it's fine. Swinging 6 in a lead is a little bit of an annoyance for Emu. It's not impossible, but it is taxing to them over the course of a game. So nice for us to be able to be 6K defensively. So far, so smooth. We're doing pretty well here. Here they play the Saint Sharia. They'll be able to fill up their trash pretty nicely in this turn. And then I think the War Curie will be a blocker online at this point. So I think we're going to have to, unfortunately, give them a card draw off of a block. But that's okay. This next turn, though, we will be able to establish a second Sanji and Pudding into a 5-cost Sanji. Down comes the Mars. They're probably just going to go ahead and use the ability there. They might want to hold on to a card in hand. There's an argument to just like force us to use our ability, but I think maybe holding on to the Never Existed could have been a little bit better there. We'll go ahead and use the Nico Robin. Thank God we have it. That's the whole reason why we have it in the deck. And then here, if they want to go ahead and use the Shirahoshi ability, they are at 8. I'm okay with that. I'm actually really okay with that. But yeah, they go and pitch the Saint Sharia. 5 into me is not going to do anything because I'm a 6k leader. As I mentioned, being a 6k leader is pretty solid. Here, let's just go ahead and establish Sanji and Pudding. Zoro is a pretty good card as well. I think we want to establish the green Sanji, though, because it will be able to get us Dawn back to be able to swing a little bit harder. We can go 5, 7, 7, and then leave 1 open for Dead Man's Game just in case, and then 1 open for the Robin ability as well. Having 3 7k swings is pretty strong as well, and they are also tapped out, so they're going to have to probably block this one. I don't think they want to give me a 2 and a 1. So yeah, there goes both blocks. Now they have no board. If they want to use Shirahoshi, be my guest. We will pitch another card, whether the green Sanji or the purple Zorojuro. It doesn't really matter at this point. We're getting close to where we're wanting to close the game out in the next turn or two. If we can close out the game now, I'd be really happy because they're about to be at 10 the next turn, and I imagine that they have the 5 Elders ready to go. We haven't seen them grab it, but we also haven't seen any go to trash. And they're putting cards in trash to be able to get them back out. So that signals to me that they have the 5 Elders overall. There is Warcury down into a Saturn. Okay, that's fine for us because what we can end up doing with, only 5 cards in hand, 2 life, and a bunch of 7k swings, I think we could just go Dead Man's Game and then swing really heavy here. If we need to, I think what we can do is protect the Robin if they decide to swing 5 into it. I think it's worth protecting. I think giving him a 2k is definitely worth it in that scenario. If we weren't going to get close to closing the game out, then I think we, might not want to consider it. Shirahoshi taxing our hand. Annoying, but it's fine. We have bricks to pitch anyway, so I'm okay with that. 5 into 4. We'll go ahead and give him a 2k here. And then, yeah, I think we just try to close the game out here. We'll go ahead and use the Dead Man's Game to rest the Warcury and their Dawn. Then we will go ahead and use our leader ability, get the Dawn back. So we just paid for that for nothing. It was a free event. We'll swing 7 first because it's a no Dawn investment. See if they can give us any cards out of hand first. They take it. That's actually really good for us. They take that. Oh my gosh, they just took that. Okay, we're going to close it out. 16 into lead since they took both of those. And yeah, they were bricked up. They had a lot of counter events and 5 Elders. If we had to go one more turn, it might actually have turned ugly for us. Since we are going first, we have a couple searchers, and that's why Snap kept this hand. I think DMG having 1 in hand instead of having to find 1 later is probably a better option. Of course, Zorojuro is a pretty good card to have in our hand as well. Any of these cards that we have in our hand are really good. We're actually finding our pieces. We're not swinging here because of the fact that they put something in life. I don't know what it is. They used Hiyori, so they're stacking their life, and I don't want to give them a free body. And now they'll have 2 free bodies if we swing in. So I think it's fine to just go ahead and take a hit or 2 along the way. Maybe establish our bodies first before they get the chance to establish theirs. Here we'll play out the Sanji and Pudding, and then we will use our ability to then get some Dawn back. We don't have anything else to play other than this Nami, and I think what we can do is grab the Nico Robin just to be safe, because sometimes they do run removal like the 6-cost Rayleigh, so that could be something in life, so we need to keep that in mind. Nami, that hurts. Nami to be able to rip one of our lives, and then 7 into lead, or 7 into 6. I'll go ahead and just counter out of this one with a 2k. I'm happy with that. Go ahead and grab something with this. I guess the green, we can't even grab the green Zoro. We'll have to grab the 6-cost Zoro instead, because we can only grab a purple character. Unfortunate, but oh well. It is what it is. Here, we'll go ahead and play out the Nico Robin just to protect our units, and I don't think I want to swing quite yet. I think we'll go ahead and pass for here. This turn on what is going to be 8 Dawn for them, they could play like 2 4-cost bodies, or they could play like a Kuma and go up to 5. There's a Boa Hancock coming down, so at least 1 4-cost, maybe another 4-cost as well. They might want to go really wide here, or they could also just swing really big. 8-8 is a potential swing they could have. I might want to take one of them. I mean, I don't want to take any of them, to be quite honest, but I think I kind of have to. I think I kind of have to. I think I have to take one of these. Yeah, they're swinging 8-8. We'll go ahead and take one, see what we get. That Nami's pretty solid, and then we will go ahead and just counter out of this other one with the Luffy event, because it doesn't cost us anything. We want to keep Dead Man's Game in hand. We don't want to minus Dawn with the Giant. We'll hold on to the Giant for later. What is our best bet here? I think we just go ahead and use the Nami. Yeah, we'll use the Nami to rest the Boa so we don't have to lose this last life if they decide to block it. We'll go ahead and we have to swing here because of the fact they're going to 9. If they play the Boa Hancock, we need to make sure that they're a low life total. And yeah, they're going to be getting bodies out of life here. It sucks, but I think I'd rather go ahead and just force them down to a lower life total, despite them having these double Gorgon sisters come out of life, which we knew that they had stacked anyway. It's fine. I'm just saying that because I'm scared right now. It's not actually fine. Okay, so they do take that one. They go down to 1 here. Is this another trigger, another body? Okay, so we got a little bit lucky that there wasn't another body, so good to see that there. Let's go ahead and grab an Usohachi just to get a 2k in hand, and then we will restand all of this Dawn. I guess there's an argument we could have swung 7 with a Zorojuro or Leader, but oh well, it's fine. I think I wanted to leave one open because of the Nico Robin ability, just in case, you know, we could use it on our turn as well. Down comes Boa Hancock. They are seeing it all. They have 3 bricks in hand, so that's good to note, that if we are pushing lethal this turn, we will be able to hopefully calculate it a little bit better, knowing 3 out of the 7 cards. Here they use double Gorgon Sister. So painful. This is a really painful turn. Maybe we can bait them to swing all out. So let's go ahead and see what they do here. 7 into 6. We'll go ahead and give them a 2k. Another 7 into 6. I'll give them a 1 and 1. They might be thinking, oh, okay, I can go a little bit harder here, but maybe they don't want to. We'll see. 7 into 6. I'm going to block this one. I'm going to block this one and see what they do with the remaining Dawn and Leader swing as well. We have a way to survive both hits, but we kind of want to bait them to swing this blocker. We're going to go ahead and use Giant. I know it hurts to do this because we're going to go in -2 Dawn, but we kind of have to do this. Thankfully, we drew into a Spider's Web, so we don't have to get rid of the DMG, but in case they do swing with this Boa Hancock, because of the fact that Boa Hancock could swing for 9, and we would have to dump the DMG and the Nami, but instead we can just give them a Spider's Web. They're thinking hard about swinging this because I think that they might think they have lethal, but they don't. So we're going to go ahead and just going to rest the Boa and rest the Dawn just in case they have a counter event. We'll go ahead and restand. Then we'll swing 7. We're just going to swing 7 and read their hand, see if we can get any information from just a base swing here. Then what we can do is swing 7. We could swing 6 instead. Maybe swinging 6 first would have been better, but there's a 2 and a 1. 7 into lead. We're just trying to get cards out of hand here. Let's go ahead and swing 7, see if they take this hit. If they take this hit, then we can go and put the pistol on the Robin and swing 10, or 6, or 6-10 rather. A trigger. Ooh, Gravity Blade. Okay, so they have 3 cards in hand. We know 3 of them are dead. 3 cards that are dead, 3 cards that are not. Yeah, we're going to have to just get rid of this Nico Robin and then swing 9. And then I think because they took a couple 7s, I don't think they have 2-2-1. Yeah, they just don't have it. They just don't have it. Okay, good thing they gave us some information there, but that was a little bit scary. These kind of matchups are not for the faint of heart. Into Sugar, we're going second, which, as I mentioned, is typically what we're going to want to do. Hand is pretty solid here because we have a Nami Searcher, a Sanji and Pudding in our hand to begin with. We don't have to look for it, which is very nice. And then whatever we find off the Nami, maybe a Zorojuro, maybe something else. Doesn't really matter. We already have a piece that we need anyway. So we're in a pretty good spot. We don't need Nico Robin in this matchup because they don't have any removal, or at least they typically don't run removal. So I think we're okay there. Sugar coming down early. That's fine. They'll be able to use it next turn, which we'll be able to answer it with this Nami. So yeah, looking pretty good. In this matchup, I typically think that this is one where it's a little bit more free for us. They have no agency to really answer our bodies, and so if we are able to find Sanji and Puddings, we can really run away with the game. Our first Sanji and Pudding typically will be able to draw a card because Sugar naturally wants to ramp, so they will be ahead of us. So this will be hopefully a good exhibition of what this deck can do without having to worry about like what your opponent can be doing to you. We're both kind of just playing our game plans, and I think my game plan in general is just a little bit better than theirs. Zorojuro is a really good find there. We are bottoming 2 of the 6-cost Luffys. We have 1 more in the deck, so I'm not too worried about not seeing it. But that is if we need to close the game out, a sad thing to see go to the bottom of the deck. Deadman's Game is actually really good in this matchup as well because of the fact that we can rest their Dawn in the late stages of the game. But if they do block her up pretty heavily, then we kind of have to decide, is the Dawn or the blocker better to rest? Usually the Dawn will be, but we'll just play it by ear in the meantime. Here, what we can do this next turn is play out Zorojuro, see if we can find a Sanji and Pudding. We're just trying to collect as many as possible. We'll take this hit easily. We'll swing the Nami into the Sugar, and we'll swing 5 into lead, of course, as well. We don't mind swinging any of these things. Zoro is actually a pretty good card as well. If we could play that out and then play a Nami Searcher. There's an argument to play either there, but I think maybe the brick is a little bit better to get rid of. I don't know. Green Zoro is really annoying for any deck to have to deal with. Okay, cool. Sanji and Pudding, we would have drawn into it the next turn anyway, but at least we guarantee to get it in hand. And then this next turn, what we can do is go Sanji and Pudding into 4-cost Zoro. We could also do 3-cost Nico Robin. Doesn't really matter too much. I think we're fine either way. I guess they could potentially run the purple Dofi, the 10-cost that does KO something. So yeah, maybe that's an option. Here, what we will do is be able to get a draw off of the Sanji and Pudding. Against this deck, you're always going to want to swing your characters first, just in case they have slow beam. Go ahead and play the Sanji and Pudding out, drawing into a giant. Pretty nice to be able to get a giant and also a really big hand size here. Let's go ahead and play out this Zoro, restand some Dawn. Go ahead and use one of the Dawn to play out a Nami to grab another Sanji and Pudding, and we're off to the races here. Swinging 7 into lead. This one, 7s, just base numbers are going to be really annoying for Sugar because they run a lot of 1Ks, but the 1Ks are bodies that they want to play out. They don't run a lot of 2Ks, and they also don't want to really use their counter events on like base 5-5 swings or 7-7 swings. So here comes a Dofi into a Monet to be able to grab another event. So they are blockering up a little bit. They might want to contest the board. I mean, they should, because contesting the board or contesting my face, I'm going to be taking the hits more than likely. Either way, I would actually probably just counter out of this one because I'm happy being at 2 life. Go ahead and give him a Nico Robin because we don't need it. We especially don't need 2. And then here, what we can do is just swing 5. Since they only have 1 open, we're not worried about slow beam, so swinging 5 first is fine. Otherwise, I'd probably just swing Sanji and Pudding first. But yeah, these baseline numbers are pretty annoying. 7s are not great because they can just easily counter out of that with a like Blast Breath or maybe like any kind of 1-cost counter event there. We'll go ahead and play another Sanji and Pudding. Use the leader ability. Well, let's go ahead and play a Nami first to see what we get. I guess we could grab a Zoro Juro just to be, you know, having an extra searcher. We could find the 4th copy of Sanji and Pudding, maybe. That could be nice. We'll go ahead and swing 6. Then we can probably just swing another 6 with our leader and a 7 with the Sanji and Pudding. There's also an argument to play the other Sanji and Pudding this turn as well, so we have 3 of them on the field. That actually might be a little bit better. And then just knowing that we'd have to protect the other Sanji and Pudding with the cards in hand, which we're actually okay doing. Pretty easy to do with the amount of counter we have, plus also the 0-cost event as well. We don't need any Dawn open for the giant. 6 in a lead. They took that last one. I don't see why they wouldn't take this one either. Okay, maybe block in a 1K. Yeah, that's fair. I think I'm just going to ignore their bodies and just go 7 in a lead. Typically with this deck, you're going to want to just hit face as much as possible, force them to drop cards, get them to 0 as close as you can. And then here, we'll go ahead and just play out the Zoro Juro just to be extra safe. I know I was talking about playing the Sanji and Pudding, but I think we can go ahead and just grab a 2K here, have a lot of cards in hand for protection. If they decide to go all in on the Sanji and Pudding that's rested, then at least we have the giant to be able to protect it. So I think that's probably a little bit more important overall. We're okay with the Zoro Juro going down. If it's an easy thing to protect, then maybe we can actually just protect it. But if they decide to really contest it, like maybe a 10 into it, I'm inclined to maybe just let it go. But obviously, the more bodies we have on the field, a little bit better for us, especially in this matchup. Usually going tall against Sugar is where they really excel. Like, they're able to counter out of tall hits. But if you start going really wide against them, it's difficult. And I think they understand that. I think they're trying to close the game out or get us closer to 0. We'll go ahead and give them a 1K counter there. If they go 9 into 6, like I said, I'll just let that one go. We could have gianted, but I don't want to minus Dawn this turn either. Let's go ahead and... I don't know. I think I just want to go ahead and... I was thinking about playing the Nami. We'll go ahead and just play out the Sanji and Pudding instead, and then just swing a bunch. We're going to force them to block anyway, so I think that's better for us, just to force them to use their blockers rather than bypassing the blockers. We can use that 4-cost Nami to close out the game once they are at 0, if they do get down to 0 this turn. So pretty good for us to hold on to that for now. We also have the option to play the 6-cost Luffy as well. We're swinging 7s first because I don't want them to slow beam us. So because they have 3 open, there's a potential that one of these cards is slow beam in hand. So a 5 first would be a free slow beam, which is really annoying. One of the blockers down. Interesting to see it go down this early. I don't know if it means that they don't have a lot of counter in hand, but we'll have to see what they do here. If we want to be able to play out the Luffy, then I think there's a good chance we might be able to... Okay, there's a slow beam. What is this going to rest? I'd imagine it's probably just going to rest the Sanjin. Okay, I was going to say the Sanjin pudding is probably a good target for them to rest. Unless they... I mean, they could have rested the Zoro as well if they're really worried about losing too much life here. That actually might have been a better option. Just the other thing that can attack the same turn. Anyway, 7 and 5. They've been taking all these other 7s, so as you can see, these 7s are really annoying for them. Okay, they're going to be using Ice Igloo. So what I think we do here is we just swing another 7 into lead, and I'm going to leave open 3 Dawn, because with the 3 Dawn, I can go Gum Gum Giant and then to a potential Spiderweb or other 1-cost counter events, just in case we really need to do that. Monet to come down, another blocker. They're running a lot of these Monets, and they've seen them all, which is really good for them, being able to at least stay alive. If we didn't have as much counter in hand as possible, then maybe some of these hits, like from the Monet or the 8-cost Dofi, would really hurt instead, but I think we're chilling right now. Bullet String going to be actually really annoying to try to close out the game against them, because they will be able to be a 7k leader for the entire turn that we're swinging into them. So all these 7k hits are going to really hurt. Here they turn their attention to the board. We'll give them a 1k. I assume that they didn't want... I mean, they rested the Sanjin pudding maybe to try to contest it, but there's 2 others that will be rested. I think I give them the Nami. I think that's fine. And then here, we'll go ahead and use the Giant. We just want as many cards in our, or on the field, rather, to be able to attack with this next turn. And it looks like we have... Okay, there's DMG. We drew into it just in time. We have the option of using it to rest their Dawn. But to be quite honest, let's force them to use cards first before anything else. So let's go ahead and just start swinging 7s. There's nothing crazy that we need to do here. We don't need to commit anything because of the fact that we have 2 life left. We have so much counter in hand, and we also just have a huge board that's going to be quite hard for them to counter out of everything. Base 7s are really nice here. Of course, if they do have slow beam, then so be it. They'll be able to rest one of these things. We could always swing a little bit higher as well, like swing 9s, but I think the best answer to any kind of deck that runs counter events, their slow beam, is to be able to just swing baseline numbers. The best way to beat Gum Gum Giant is to swing 5 into 5. So, you know, why would it be any different for decks that run this? Now, this would be a good reason to use Dead Man's Game, but once again, no need to really overcommit here. We can just swing, like I said, base numbers, force cards out of hand, and then leave Dawn open for the following turn to be able to close the game out if we are unable to do it this turn. But they swung, or they used a Blast Breath on a 7k swing. That's really telling. That's like incredibly telling. So we'll swing another 7 here, force them to give us 1 card out of hand if they have it. If they block this one, then we just go like pretty heavy into their leader. They just block and they give up there because they did realize that, I mean, they had no cards in hand to be able to counter out with. Outside of that, we could have swung another 7 and been fine. Once again, easy to recognize when you should be, you know, not forcing the game when you don't have to. We could have closed out the next turn as well, so we would have been fine either way. Into Piss Luffy, we want to take second if we can get it. We didn't get it, but this hand is actually a pretty good hand as well because we have options to go Nami on 1 and then Nami on 3. We'll have plenty of ways to find our pieces. We'll go ahead and grab the Zoro Juro just in case we don't find anything else. The green Zoro would have also been a good, or green Sanji would have been a good option as well. But I think the Zoro Juro, just to dig a little bit deeper instead of just playing a body, would be fine. They do have the 2-cost event. Good to know. We'll go ahead and swing 5 here. I'm not too worried about any kind of triggers coming out of life. And then, like I said, we'll play Nami and Nami. And then hopefully find a Sanji and Pudding in that top, 10 at that point? I guess it would be 15. So the chances of us finding it's pretty good. They're thinking about this first hit. I think they want to stay at 6 so they can rearrange their life. But maybe they just want to take this. They do end up taking it. Good for us. We'll go ahead and play out Nami into, I guess, Usohachi to get a 2k in hand, and then another Nami to... We searched 15 cards, and we didn't see a single Sanji input. This is what I'm talking about. This is my luck. This is exactly my luck here. We have seen 16 cards, okay? 16 cards, and not a single Sanji Pudding. 1 for the draw, and then 15 for the searches. It's probably in life. It could be probably the first life here. Okay, it's not the first life. 17 cards. 18 cards. We're not seeing it. Let's see if we can find it off of this. It's another 5. Okay, so Sanji and Pudding, we finally find it in the top 20. I would have been I would have been rather tilted if I didn't see it there. But oh well, we'll go ahead and because they leave 2 open, we don't want to give them that free counter event. So we'll go ahead and pass. Feels awful doing against this deck because stalling against this deck is not really a good answer either, especially when they have as much life as they do. The Nami comes down. Do we want to take this? I think we just take this one. I don't know. I don't want to give him too many cards in hand. I'm okay having a pretty big hand size and defending myself from here, and then just trying to amass a pretty big board in the meantime. Let's go ahead and play a Zorojuro to grab Giant's a pretty good card to grab there. We'll go ahead and swing 6 and then another 6 here. We'll start asking for 2Ks. I imagine that one of these will be countered out, yeah. Maybe even both of them. Sometimes Piss Luffy likes to stay as high in life as possible. But they're thinking about it hard. They're thinking about it hard. But that means if they do counter out here, that the swings that we have after this turn are just going to be hitting for even harder. Likely 7s across the board with all the Dawn that we'll have to play with. We'll have to definitely defend our life this turn. But also, if they just go 8 cost Kid and rip it, and then they go like 6 in a lead, I think that hurts more than anything else. I would rather them swing like a 6, 6, and then maybe establish a body. Like a Nico Robin could also be an option as well. Although I don't want to see any of these, to be quite honest. I mean, going down, we're at like, what, 5-1? We're at 5-1 life. We have asked ourselves like a tall task to be able to come out of this. It's possible with this deck, especially against yellow, but yeah, this is kind of where yellow is at right now. Against any other deck, I would be extremely worried, but because I'm on GP Luffy right now, I think I'm okay. We have a lot of ways to protect ourselves, point being. There's the Nico Robin, back up to 5. 6 in the lead, and then another 6 in the lead. I'm going to go ahead and just give him 1Ks here. I don't want to drop the green Zoro. It's really good in this matchup, but I will. And then I also don't want to drop the Nami, but I need a blocker as well. So let's go ahead and use the Sanjin Pudding. And I think I'm going to establish another Sanjin Pudding because of the fact that, well, it's another card draw, and we're going to have all these bodies to be able to swing with. We're just going to start swinging 6s here. We'll hopefully not have anything come out of life. I don't think that 2 1Ks, okay, that's really good for us. I don't think that they have anything out of life that's really going to KO our board. So I'm kind of confident. I guess I can't say I'm kind of confident. I'm either confident or I'm not. I'm confident that they're not going to be able to KO anything on our board through triggers at least. Unless they're running like a 5-cost Nami, but I doubt that. I run it, but I don't think this person will. So another 6 in the lead. Let's see if they got a 2K out of life. They didn't, but they gave us a 0-cost event. Okay, interesting to see. Maybe they have another one as well. Their hand is being read hard here. So good for us to see that that they're in this situation. Usopp trigger is not the best for us. If they decide to go like a 9-cost Bonnie, rip life, then we'd have to defend a 6, which we can with the green Nami. A 7 with the leader. So a purple Sanji more than likely. Or we could also just give him a for the 6K swing, the purple Nami. For the 8K with the Nico Robin, we could do 0-cost event plus the Luffy. And then if we really need to with the Bonnie, then we could do a Gum Gum Giant as well. Although I don't want to minus too much Dawn. I guess we get it back with all these Sanjin Puddings on the field. So I think we're fine. I think this next turn, even if they do play out their best card, we should be okay. All right. A Dawn underneath the Nami, will go ahead and just give him a 2K off the Zorojuro. We want to keep all of these bodies alive. Another 2K here. They want to go 8 into 6. Yep. 0-cost event. And then, what do they have? What do they got? What's their last card? They're on 9. This could be a Bonnie. They definitely have seen a good curve. I'll give them that. This one should probably be, I was going to say, probably lead. I guess it doesn't matter either way. But I want to keep the bodies on the field. So I'm going to go ahead and just Giant, use the purple Nami, and then pitch green Nami. We want to keep the green Nami and an Usohachi in hand. We also want to keep the 6-cost Luffy as well. But I think our best bet here is because they were taking the 6s before or awkwardly countering out of the 6s before, I think that just hitting them for 6 for a couple times is probably fine. I think this next one could probably be a 7. So we go 6, read their hand. They took the hit. They took it. We'll go ahead and swing 7 here. We'll see if they take this one as well. We have a lot more coming their way. The worst thing that we could see is like a blocker trigger, but that would have to be like this life, I think, for us to really just be annoyed by it. Because we have the Usohachi to be able to rest it if that's the case. 7 into lead here. Will they be able to counter out of this one? They don't. Okay. That's annoying. That is really annoying. If they take this hit, though, we're going to go swing 7. If they take this hit, we just go Uso Hachi, rest the Robin, use the leader ability, get Dawn back, and then swing really big on the Sanji and Pudding. If they block this one, then we just play the 6-cost Luffy as well and kind of close the game out from there. Okay, so they're able to play out the Sanji to be able to get something out of their hand, which was a dead card. That's good for them. That's actually a couple of triggers that were really good for them. What is the Jinbei? It's a 2K? Okay, so a little annoying, but that's fine. What we can do is then play over the Zoro Juro to rest the Nico Robin blocker, get all this Dawn back, do the whole thing, and then just put the rest onto the Sanji and Pudding and swing 16 into lead, and then guarantee the game from there. I can't believe we came back from that. I mean, I guess I kind of can. This deck is pretty good, but 5 life to 1, and we were able to come back from that deficit. Insane. I'm so happy to be able to queue into meta-relevant decks for the most part. I will say that we were lucky to dodge Ace, because I do think Ace is one of your harder matchups, but being able to fire off against Emu, any of the yellow decks we went against as well, felt pretty good. As I said in the intro, this deck is one that rewards a good pilot, and so I think that you have a couple of weeks leading up into Treasure Cups or Regionals, and if you want to get that practice in and grind this deck, I think now's the time, because of the fact that the more that you do get those reps in, the more that when those weird scenarios pop up, you'll know exactly what to do. As far as the deck list goes, I think overall I wouldn't change too much here. I think what we have as a core is pretty good. You might want to change some of the ratios overall. I do rather like the 5-cost Sanji, and I actually really like this 4-cost Zoro as well, so you might want to find room for those. The Nami worked at times, but otherwise it did feel somewhat dead, but I would rather have this in the deck than not. And then, of course, having 3 of these might be a little overkill, but you do want to see at least 1. So having maybe 2 could be okay if you really need to make cuts somewhere. But otherwise, overall, it feels really good. As I mentioned as well in the intro, Marco from Hong Kong was piloting this and did pretty well with it. So if somebody can take this and do pretty well in a pretty big championship, I wouldn't want to change too much overall. That being said, let me know in the comments below what you guys think about green purple Luffy in this current meta, and if there's any additional spicy picks you might have in your deck that I didn't include in mine, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.